Then one thing happened, and these two the two events, there were, we know the wounds of Uhud were still fresh yet, were still bleeding, were still hurtful to the Muslim Ummah. And then subhanAllah, two events after that happened that were two gaping wounds in the Ummah again. And we'll start with the first one, talking about that, and it's called Ar Raji, or the mission of Ar Raji. Ar Raji is a well, and what happened in this was in Safar of the 4th year of Hijrah. A people came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a group of the clans of Abal and Qara, and these two tribes came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they said that they are interested in Islam and they are interested in learning about this new religion, but they asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to send some companions, some teachers with them as ambassadors to teach them about Islam. And of course, the most interest of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was to teach people about Islam. And what they did, 10 companions were sent with these people, and they were headed by Asim ibn Thabit. Asim ibn Thabit was the head companion of these 10 that were well versed in Quran, well versed in the religion, and they were going out to teach these people about Islam and invite them to the new religion after they were given the vows of safety, that they will be protected by these people in this foreign land for them, on these foreign tribes. And in another narration, it was Marthad ibn Abi Marthad that was the head of this, but most narration says it was actually Asim ibn Thabit. And then they walked on with these tribes, with these clans of Abal and Qara, until they reached the well of Ar Raji, Ar Raji, a place east of Medina. And then found themselves in a trap. They found themselves falling in a trap, surrounded by 100 archers of Banu Luhyan min Hudayl. Banu Luhyan is a clan of the bigger tribe of Hudayl, and 100 archers surrounded these people. And in this also was a conspiracy, obviously, between these two tribes and the people of Hudayl to take some Muslims and to slaughter them in that area. And also in some narration that Quraysh was also involved in this behind the scene by having some conspiracy with the people of Hudayl. So nonetheless, Muslims were dragged into this by treachery, by tricks, and they were taken as teachers, not as fighters, but then they were surrounded by 100 archers of these people, and Muslims got on the top of the hill, and they refused to surrender. And the mushrik spoke directly to Asim ibn Thabit, and what he answered them to surrender, said, "Come surrender to us, and we gave you vows that your life would be safe and the life of your friends, your companions will be safe." But that's what they said in the first place. That's what they said in Medina before he went out with them. And he said, "La usallimu amri ila mushrikin abadan." I will not leave myself under the mercy of these people that already showed me their treason once. And they started fighting with them, and 7 out of the 10 Muslims. See this bravery. I mean, 10 people surrounded by 100. I mean, it's obvious that they will have no chance of fight. But they continued fighting, and 7 Muslims were killed by the archers. It wasn't even a face-to-face type of fighting. The other three were surrounded, but they surrendered after they were promised that they will not be killed. And the people of Banu Luhyan gave them heavy promises and vows that surrender yourself. Here's your companions, the other 7 were killed. If you surrender, you will not be killed. So these 3 gave up and surrendered themselves. And they were Khubaib, and then Zaid ibn Dathana, and the 3rd man that was probably, by most narration, Abdullah ibn Tariq. And these 3 people gave themselves and gave their weapons to the mushrik. And they said that you have protection, you have safety, you will not be touched. Well, the first thing that those people of Banu Luhyan did is they took their bows and they took that rope that is usually between the bow, and they took it and they start tying them up. So that third person, Abdullah, he said, this is the first sign of treason, that we're being tied up, we have no defense. And he refused to be taken out of that place, and they dragged him and they couldn't. He still kept on fighting, so they killed him right on the spot. So we see that their intentions were very dark and very, very filled with anger. Then two were left, Khubaib and the Zaid ibn Dathana. Khubaib was sold to people of Bani al-Harith. There is a story between Khubaib and Bani al-Harith and why he was sold to them, and that's what we try to go over. Khubaib killed al-Harith, the head of this family, on the Battle of Badr. So the people of his children wanted to take revenge from Khubaib, and they paid the most money so they can take the man that killed their father. And what they did with him is they took him as a prisoner and they jailed him, waiting on the day that he would be killed. And one of the things that happened, which was most amazing and most showing of the manners and the behavior of this Sahabi, even as a prisoner, was an event that is narrated actually in Al-Bukhari. When he was a prisoner in the house of Al-Harith, and obviously they were preparing for the day of his execution, of his death. Of course, they did not have a formal prison, so they jailed him in a corner of their house, in a place in their house. And they bought him as a slave. And one day he asked for a knife, for a razor knife, to take some of the hair out, and one of the ladies in that house gave him that. And then as he had this knife, one of the children was playing, and he somehow got into the same place that Khubaib was. And then the next thing that she knows is she looks, and that boy was sitting in Khubaib's lap, and they were just talking. He was just playing with the kid in a very innocent way. And the lady got yellow. I mean, she got so pale, she got so frightened. Here's that prisoner that they're planning to kill, and he knows that he's going to be killed. And he's got the knife, and he's got the kid. Now, the natural thing that this kid will be hostage until they release him. So Khubaib looked at her, and he said to her, أَتَخْشَيْنَ أَنْ أَقْتُلَهُ? Are you afraid that I will kill this boy? And she said, yes. And he said, مَا كُنْتُ لِأَفْعَلَ ذَلِكَ إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهِ. I would not be the one to kill the children, inshallah. I will not be the one that does that. And then the same woman narrates in the Bukhari that she would walk by his cell and she would see grapes in his own cell. And this is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And she narrates that in the whole city of Mecca there was not a piece of fresh fruits, and we will see grapes, bundles of grapes in his cell house. And then the other thing, that they found a person to kill him, and they took him from his cell and they took him outside an area of Mecca called Al-Haram. Al-Haram is a place that they would not commit any crimes or do anything with. They respect the sacredcy, the sacred place in Mecca. So they took him outside Mecca and they wanted to kill him. And he asked for one thing before he gets killed, and it later on became a sunnah for those who are to face execution in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he asked to pray 2 rak'ah. He asked to pray 2 rak'ah in preparedness for martyrdom, and they allowed him to do this. And then he finished the 2 rak'ah, and then he looked at them and he said, لولا أن تروا أن ما بي جزع من الموت لزدت. If you would not think that if I pray longer, if I pray more than 2 rak'ah, that you would think I'm trying to prolong this, I'm trying to avoid death or prolong my life, then I would have prayed more. But I'm ready. And then he looked at them and he said, and he supplicated this famous supplication, Allahumma ahsihim adada waqtulhum bidada wa la tubqi minhum ahada. Oh Allah, count them by one, count, know who they are, وَاقْتُلْهُمْ بِدَدًا, and then wipe them out, وَلَا تُغَادَرْ مِنْهُمْ أَحَدًا, and do not leave one of them without your punishment. And then Uqba ibn al-Harith, the son of that man, went out to him and killed him. The other person, and sorry for the typo, this is supposed to be an L. Zaid was sold to Safwan ibn Umayyah. Safwan ibn Umayyah was the son of Umayyah ibn Khalaf. And he wanted to kill a Muslim because Muslims killed his father on the day of Badr. So he also bought this Muslim and wanted him to be killed. And then they took this Zaid ibn dathana, and they took him also out of the haram, out of the place to a place called At-Tan'im. At-Tan'im is this place when people want to make Umrah again, they go out to and they re-enter Mecca again. That's the place they took him to. And they took him to this At-Tan'im because it's outside Mecca. They knew what they're doing. What they're doing was wrong. They were